Hi, this is Jim Ziegler, and this is the Dawg Pound. Was that dramatic enough, guys?
It's very dramatic.
We're live. We're live. Okay, today we're going to talk about dealership communications. How do we talk to our customers? Smoke signals, text, video, telephone, email. How are we communicating? How quickly do we communicate? BDC or no BDC? From DriveCentric, the LiveWithDrive Guy, Steve Roessler. Hey, big guy.
What's going on, Jim?
I'm having the best day of my entire life, man. This is exciting. Here I am with my friends. Come on, what could be better? We're broadcasting live.
That's all you can ask for.
We're live on social media, and I've got two of the most brilliant women in the car business on the broadcast today, and from Michigan, the Zeigler Auto Group. Even though they misspell their name. Aaron Ziegler, great dealer. My friend, Lindsay Latsko. Hi, Lindsay. Lindsay, how you doing?
Good. How are you? I'm actually in Chicago, but Michigan based. But
okay, you're in Chicago. Let me ask you, you got any weather?
We're gearing up for a storm as well. We're supposed to get some snow, some rain, some cold temperatures. It's gonna be great.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Okay. And when you're talking about brilliant women in the car business, you couldn't do much more brilliant to her than my friend Jennifer Briggs. Hi, kid.
Hey, Jim. How are you?
I'm excited.
It's going to be a great conversation today.
Anytime we do the Dawg Pound, and directly from Moscow, Russia, the mad Russian himself, tampering with U.S. elections, my friend, the king of reinsurance, Max Zanan. Hey, Max.
Hey, Jim.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. You're actually in Spain today, right?
Yes, I am. But I'm looking forward to this, especially, my argument with Jennifer is going to be bananas.
I was going to say, we know there's going to be some disagreements.
Oh, let's get it out in the open.
Oh, this is going to be a cage match.
I predict Max is going to tell me that's a utopian idea. I'm predicting
100%. 100%.
Oh, okay, communication. I'm going to go to Lindsay because Lindsay's the one actually working in the dealership in this crew today. Lindsay, what's the first thing that happens when a lead or a phone call comes in your dealership?
BDC communicates with the customer. If it's a phone call, we get all of their information as much as they'll give up. If it's an internet lead through our system, we email, call, and text every customer.
Email, call, and text every customer. How quickly does that happen?
Under 2 minutes. So we don't allow any lead to sit in the bucket at all for over 2 minutes.
Take it, Jennifer. Jennifer?
Oh, I didn't hear you, Jim. Sorry.
I said, yeah, take up where she left off.
Well, I think, one of the things that is really important, time is of the essence, but it's also about what you're saying. One of the things that we teach is to understand the lead sources and meet your customer where they're coming from, right? We have different scripts for inbound versus outbound, right? Those conversations are different. And I think a lot of times we just get into the gotta check the box, and we're not necessarily having the quality conversations that we should be having. Could save us a lot of time chasing customers if we could. Sometimes I always say slow down to speed up. We like to target 2 minutes. I think is totally fine. We do a 5 minutes to forever. Back in the day, your old friend David Kane. I was Kane trained in my very first internet department. And so you're breaking down the lead by the source and then creating a personalized conversation track, whether it's, and we always we do text, phone, email is the order in which we're doing now, but just making sure that you're
Okay. Well, why in that order? I'm going to get to Steve in a second, but why in that order?
Well, strangely enough, and I know that this is a little bit shocking. It was last year, towards the end of the year, very beginning of, 2020, towards the end of the year, very beginning of 2021, Nissan actually came to us, and I'm not used to Nissan being progressive, but it was a requirement in their lead handling, and they had us switch it because we've always been, phone call first. But with the data on the Nissan stores that we had to switch over to that, and how much better we got responses, consumers would recognize the phone number even, because we would just do a quick, as far as the compliance messaging goes, the end of it would say, I am going to be trying to reach out to you via telephone from this number. So they would see the agent or salesperson's direct phone number. And then when the phone rang in the next minute, our connections almost doubled from like a 40% connection rate on that first call. It was insane for doing that. So we did it across all locations.
Wow. So Steve.
Yeah, no.
DriveCentric, you're all about communication. And by the way, DriveCentric is my favorite CRM. I mean, not just because they pay me. I mean, just they are honest to goodness my favorite CRM because they modernized and they got communication built in the system. Talk about it, Steve.
Well, I think I think the timing of the lead and everything that we talk about based on the data we see inside, it's going to be critical on the success rate of that connection rate. I think if there's an internet lead that comes in probably within 5 minutes, if you were to call that customer within 5 minutes of that lead coming in, you're probably going to get a hold of that customer. And you could maybe even stretch out to 10 minutes. But timing is of the essence as far as getting connectivity on the phone. So I'm a big supporter of getting on the phone. But I think if a lead is sitting there for 30 minutes and you call, you're probably not going to get that customer's reality.
No. You got to get them at the zero moment while they are still actively shopping and they've actively got shopping on their mind.
Well, just when they're sitting in front of the computer, they're on their phone. It's all about the timing. People have about I was just looking at the study out there by the Detroit Trading Company. And one of the things that they always talk about in this study is the connection rate. And time is of the essence. I know the OEMs go out there and talk about it, but the connection rate, just for example, if you get a hold of a customer and you connect with them in that first minute, believe it or not, it's like your closing rate goes up by 31%. And so it goes down obviously 2 minutes.
Now, did you just make that number up or where did that come from?
Detroit Trading Company.
Okay.
Yeah. So what we always talk about and what we preach about is no different than everybody else. I think everybody knows that speed is of the essence to get that customer engaged with your store. If you're the first one to engage, you're going to have a higher probability of closing that customer before anybody else. So,
if you don't know the difference between your lead sources, and Steve, what you're saying is absolutely right. But if you're dealing with third-party leads coming from your OEM, or you're dealing with certain lead sources, those are already delayed. So you're definitely not going to be the first one to talk to those customers. So understanding how to approach each and every source is very important. And to Steve's point about if the lead had sat there for 30 minutes, that's complete and total BS. And I'll represent Bobbie here just a little bit. We would never let a lead standing in our showroom sit there for 30 minutes or wait to be greeted for 30 minutes. Why are the consumers who are contacting us online treated any different? And it's crazy because we've been saying that for years, but it still happens.
Lindsay, they were talking about scripts. Are you using scripts?
Yes. So we have inbound, outbound scripts, and then dependent on the lead source too, we customize our scripts, but our templates as well. So just like Jennifer said, it's totally about, making sure. My biggest pet peeve is if I see a lead come through and they asked a question and the rep flew through it and did not answer the question. I just lose my mind.
How many BDCs are you over?
10.
So you're managing 10 BDCs.
Yes.
And how are you monitoring that production?
So I mean, each BDC has a manager, and then I have like a few like executive managers, I guess you would say as well. But we do reporting weekly, daily, and monthly. So I never, no offense here, but I don't trust CRMs ever 100%. So we have all of our own like custom reports where we can pull a lot of the information from our CRM. But I mean, from how many good leads they took in, internet, phone up, campaign, how many, their contact percentage, appointment set percentage, confirmation shown, everything. We track a lot.
Jennifer, pick up that question on the screen.
So the timing versus too early or too late, I mean, I guess that's going to depend on when the customer reached out to you. Right. There are certain compliance regulations that you're not allowed to call the customers before, I believe it's 8 a.m. or after, I think it's 9 p.m. But from a timing standpoint, I mean, again, first contact, of course, needs to be within that, right, 2 to 5 minute window. And Steve had mentioned 10 minutes before. And the most recent data showed consumers contacted within 10 minutes are 4 times more likely to visit your dealership. So you definitely want to be in that window. But we always look at what time of day did they submit that? Are we dealing with somebody who works second shift or third shift? And then to tailor
I'm
that.
laughing my head off because I see people, I couldn't reach them. I left a message. Left a message burns me up. And what I hear is we left a message. Well, maybe, when did you call them? 2 o'clock. Well, when did you call them yesterday? 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, same time.
They must not be home at 2 o'clock, dumbass.
Right. Or they're working.
You have to pay attention to that stuff. I will never forget one of my, it wasn't a BDC store, it was Cradle to Grave. And the sales rep said that same thing. The consumer had inquired on a used Ranger. This is years ago. And every day, it was not 2 o'clock. He was calling at 10:30 every morning. And the customer's email address was such and such socialstudies.edu. He's a darn teacher. And if he's a social studies teacher, he's most likely also a coach. So we tried that day after 2 weeks of him trying consistently at 10:30 at the same time. Why would you repeat something and expect a different outcome? But we tried at 4:30 and we got an appointment set and the customer came in that Saturday. Pay attention to those things.
Max, have you got something contrarian to say to Jennifer?
So listen, maybe again, I'm a little out of touch, right? But in this day,
you used to have a rotary dial cell phone, don't you?
right. So in this day and age, right, when inventory is so scarce, right? Maybe again, I'm being naive, but I truly believe that cars sell themselves right now. Right. That's why, there's a lot of cancellations when it comes to advertising, because people want to buy cars and dealers don't have enough cars. So in my humble opinion, right, everybody is obsessing when it comes to BDC on customer contact within 2 minutes, within 5 minutes. And I think BDC is so much more than that. Right, there are other functions that BDC, at least in my mind, should be performing.
We're going to be talking about service, and I've got that on the agenda.
Outbound in general.
Right, outbound service, F&I, commercial department, stuff like that.
Fleet.
And especially right now, I think these functions are much more critical because listen, if you only have one F-150 in stock, it's going to sell whether you call back in 2 minutes, in 22 minutes. And let me tell you something else. Even if you never call back, it's going to sell, and it's going to sell probably for $10,000 sticker.
My good friend Kenneth Eason out in California. I mean, great guy, general manager out there in Valencia. Also within the first 5 minute call significance is the importance, the content of response. Okay, what about the content, Steve?
Well, everything that we always talk about, and again, I know we're talking about calls, but again, I'm going to be always going with the data of what most people do is they don't pick up the phone anyway, because the reality is nobody really picks up the phone in this day and age. I mean, everybody's a texter. You kind of knew I was going to go in that area. What I'm just saying is your best contact rate, get people on the phone, is probably in that first, call it 5 to 10 minute window, is probably your best chance if I was a bet man. But this day and age, I think what you have to do is be respectful of people's time. You know, that guy or gal that's a teacher that, you know, Jennifer was saying, is I guarantee that, you know, when everybody's working, they're texting. And so one of the things I like to talk about is always scheduling what I call a mini appointment. You know, a mini appointment is getting that customer that's on the phone. I mean, that's how we schedule, you know, time with our friends, our family. Hey, what time do you get off work and things like that? You're scheduling a, what I call a mini. So that it's just a new terminology. I like to go out.
We don't like minis in this business, Steve. You better give it a different name.
Well,
We're not
I'm telling you, I'll beg to differ. I'll be a lot more effective. I'll tell you. I'm not, look, I will tell you, I am not about making.
You're setting a call appointment, basically.
I'm not about blind calling. I just don't see that effective in today's society. If people want to do it,
but why is it blind calling? Well, because we're talking
because
about
you're calling somebody
opportunities. They contacted us. That's
no, I get it. But number one, Jennifer, you got to remember, they don't have your number on the phone. Nobody picks up an unknown number or a blind number. So you got to keep in mind the customer is not, if you are not a known entity on somebody's phone, they don't know. So then you got to leave
That's why I just shared the tip about just a little bit ago about texting your number first so that the consumer does know your number.
Okay, you text their number. Lindsay, are you doing any outbound calls?
Oh, yes. Yeah. All of our stores.
Okay, Lindsay, how about service BDC? Do you have that?
Most of our stores do, but I wouldn't say they're not so much, you know, campaign driven. They're more so just scheduling appointments. They're working, you know, anything that comes in. They're
okay,
not
so there's no campaigns. How about recalls and whatnot? They're doing all that.
Recalls, yes, yeah.
Okay, so
I just feel like they could do more, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What could they do more? What could a service BDC
I mean,
do?
I think you know, denied work is a big opportunity that we don't capitalize on enough. But you know, and I think just calling customers back who haven't serviced with us in, you know, 1 year, 2 years.
Yeah, looking at your RSI buckets is huge. Whatever those retention timeframes are with your OEM, because if you're a service BDC manager out there, and you may or may not know this, but most OEMs are going to tie dollars for your dealer to those RSI numbers. And your target window for dissension in those consumers is typically between 7 and 12 months. So if you are looking at putting some service processes into place, that really is your window. If you can get your team, they've not scheduled an appointment in 7 months since their purchase, especially on those customers, between that 7 and 12 month window. Once they hit 12 and go past it, your chances of ever getting them back are very difficult.
Denied service. I want to hear more about denied service. Lindsay?
Well, listen, Jim, denied service is a real process, because in order for the BDC to make the phone call, there has to be an opcode created and recorded on the repair order,
and
right? And if listen, let's be honest, you know, and you look at the human nature, you know, I'm willing to bet that not every service advisor actually records denied service. It's like not every salesperson logs every customer.
Define denied service, because there are a lot of people.
So denied service is something when, let's say, a service advisor says, Jim, you really need to do your brakes. And you will say something like, unfortunately, I don't have the time now, right? Because I got to go to work. So now the right thing to do is to
the advisor should record that, and the BDC should follow up on that. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's exactly right. But if the advisor doesn't record it, right, then it's a huge problem. There is nothing BDC can do about it. You can't fold BDC.
Well, even outside of that, Max, most dealerships, this is actually going to go to the fixed ops setup in the DMS. So if your DMS, and most stores have this set up, that there's one declined op code And then the advisor has to put the comments in, like this is what they declined and why they declined it, in order to truly make sure that you're capitalizing on this. And I
You
tell
need multiple upcodes.
well, and don't try to build it for everything. Pick your 5 most profitable
Right.
defined
Mhm.
ops.
Steve, is this incorporated in DriveCentric?
We're right now doing everything on. We're actually rolling out a service piece,
I
so
knew
that's
that.
pretty interesting to me to hear this. So we'll be rolling that out at NADA. But I kind of like what I'm hearing so far.
Well, I sort of knew that, and I just wanted to
Oh,
give
yeah.
you
Well,
I-
hopefully you're
I threw
communicating
you a
back to the
softball.
DMS.
Oh,
Because
it's all good. Don't worry about it. I mean, like I said, we're strictly on the sales side at this point. But.
Okay, texting. How effective is texting versus the phone call versus, people. When I first got into the internet, it was flat text, one modality of learning. I mean, just one dimensional. Then all of a sudden we had photographs. Oh my God! Now we got pictures and text, and then all of a sudden we had video, and all of a sudden we got sound, and now video, text, printed word. What's effective, Lindsay?
I mean, text is very effective if you can get a customer to opt in. Right now, we have had to change some of our process for legality wise, so we can't, text a customer until they've opted into us, and that we've seen actually some struggle getting a lot of customers to opt in. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I get texts all the time from people that I haven't inquired with, in months. And it's like, I ignore them, I delete them, I opt out now. And I feel like people are, texting is almost becoming like emails now too. You're getting
I'm getting a lot of spam texts.
Yeah, an abundance of emails. So it can be very effective, but you really have to do it right. And you can't inundate the customer with a million texts every day.
yeah. We always say to wrap your arms around the customer, right? Make sure that you're reaching out, especially in that first day after that opportunity comes into the system, is that you're doing text, you're doing phone call, you're doing video, you're doing regular email. Wrap your arms around them in as multiple communication methods as possible. Guess what? They're going to choose the one that they want to use. But if you only try through one, your odds are dramatically reduced. So again, about being the control of our own destiny as people who work on commission, wrap your arms all the way around. There's really no reason why you should leave money on the table. But I think,
Can I ask you a question, Jennifer?
But go right ahead.
So,
No,
our
actually-
process is
Go ahead.
we call, text, and email until a customer responds, right? But we've kind of been, I should say, we've kind of been relooking at a lot of our processes because we felt like we were maybe overly aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so maybe we call, text, and email the first few days, and then we just try, calling and emailing, or calling and texting, or kind of switching that up, because if we're not getting a response on all methods.
Absolutely. And I'll let you know, Lindsay, again, based on the lead source, our processes are different.
Mhm.
Certain lead sources, we're more aggressive. Certain lead sources, we are a little softer in that touch. But
Mhm.
even just try flipping to the, again, with that opt-in, you've got to make sure your opt-in message has the right verbiage to it if you're going to move that to the front. But even at that point, like let's say they don't even opt in, but they see that phone number, and then your team calls and the caller ID says, because a big part of it is they don't know us or trust us. So in order to answer a telephone for a number that they don't know, I think this was Steve's point, is a lot of people aren't going to engage. But it is about that balance and making sure you're opening up every avenue possible to have that conversation.
Now, I don't know if I know Ashley Cavazos, Walzer organization, one of the other BDC goddesses in the world. She just
said, she just got a big promotion. I saw on LinkedIn.
Oh, she deserved it too.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the Walzer organization as well, and she says text with video. She's watching the show, so Steve, now come up with video. Now is video something we need to be looking at?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the one thing, just to piggyback on the communication with texting and the opt-in, based on if you get a hold of that customer, one of the things I love to teach is if I get a customer on the phone, I'm going to ask them, hey, are you a texter? The one thing that I always try, anytime I'm communicating with a customer, I'm always going to steer the customer. Like, even if I'm talking to dealerships, I don't care. Hey, are you a texter? It's a very simple language. And then, like for you, Lindsay, it's just the customer's expecting it because sometimes the language in other CRMs is kind of scary unless you tailor it out, but we only see a 14% opt-out rate of our text messages. So texting, I will tell you, if I look at the communication strategy just at stores, it's like 80 to 90% text and 10% email. And usually a lot of people back off the phone and they are texting to earn the right to get the customer on the phone. Now, the one caveat with texting a video, and again, just kind of the same thing, when you're texting a video, depending upon what tool you're using, most customers are not going to have, Lindsay on their phone as a customer, known entity, as what I always like to call it, known contact. So the texting a video is going to come over as a hyperlink to anybody. If I send Lindsay right now, because Lindsay, I'm not on your phone, I'm going to send you a link I'm going to send you a video, but chances are it's going to come over as a link. So
how do you do that? What technology do we have that does that? I know.
Well, it's but
Steve, if they don't have DriveCentric, because I know you've got it built. I know you've got it built in.
Yeah.
But if they have another CRM that doesn't do that, can they still text and video?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. BombBomb, CoVideo, SnapCell.
There you go.
I mean, even if you wanted to go old school YouTube, you can still get a thumbnail in a MMS message.
Not if you're not a known contact, though.
Well, if you're not a known contact, that's definitely if you're texting out of your CRM, you're never going to be a known contact.
No, that's what you got to teach. So, I mean, there's good technology out there where you're giving the customer the ability to build a known contact. I mean, our phone is so powerful. These days, what we have to teach the dealerships to do is, how do I get my name on your phone? That's the trick of marketing to the dealership.
Become a known entity where your name pops up and not just a phone number.
Yeah, I mean, there's just good strategies, but that's I think what we have to do is be progressive. I mean, we have stores right now that, I mean, I know this will blow everybody's mind away, but get rid of business cards, and think about that. I mean, there's actually, you get QR codes and have your QR code. I know, it's just like, that's where technology is taking us. I mean, for the last 7 years, I don't have business cards. Now, people can think that's crazy, but if Jennifer really wanted my number, I'm going to text her my number and then she can program me in her phone. That's the way you do business. I mean, it's just the modern way of doing it. If people care, they will put you on their phone.
Max, do you have a business card?
I do, and I use it for other purposes. I remember last time I gave out a business card.
You put them in the drawings for the free sandwiches.
Right, exactly.
Free sandwiches, Subway.
Ashley is 100% correct. I feel as a consumer that text with video is the most effective communication. And if I'm a car buyer, especially now, the only thing I really want to know if you still have the car, right? Mm-hmm. Really, that's it. So if you send me a video standing next to that car, right? That's proof of life, right? Yeah. And then I have a reason to make an appointment and come get the car.
Well, right? Yeah, right now with the scarcity, that's definitely it. And we've even,
but again, going back to service, right? I think text with video in service is mind blowing how effective it is.
Oh, you could take a picture of the Briggs.
Video. Right. When you make a little video of the brakes are gone.
Exactly.
The conversion is just like this.
Well, and I think so the video in service isn't necessarily going to be BDC not related, but it is, right? Because that's relying upon an advisor or a tech for most of the processes involving video in service. It's set to say, hey, while we were in here, we noticed that you also need a new air filter,
Thanks,
and this
Kevin.
belt is this and this and that, da 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 da. But I think even so, this will go back to, and I'm actually glad you brought it up because my brain was so stuck on service because there's so much money there,
That's
not
right.
just for service, but for acquiring your inventory right now. But we used, and this was in 2011, not lucky for her, but incredibly lucky for me as a early into my operations career, right? Because I came out of accounting in 2010 and into operations, we had an awesome advisor who contracted a health issue and she couldn't be in the lane anymore. And that became my first service BDC. We utilized video in automated email processes for declined ops back in 2011. And we're still talking to people about doing it now. Granted, just coming out of accounting, guess who built all the op codes and sales chains for fixed ops? So we had everything that we needed in order to do that. And so she shot a video. She talked about why these things were important. And we set it up in our CRM that 48 hours after that declined service hit the system, once it posted, then that email would go out for our 5 most profitable op codes, right? We don't need to do stuff. If I'm not making money on it, why am I spending time on it? But with a 10% off coupon for those consumers to be able to schedule that appointment later. There are lots of ways BDCs in service can still use it. But what Max is talking about is a huge upsell opportunity for your advisors. And if you're not doing that, I just want to make sure for everybody watching.
Max is always thinking upsell. Max is the upsell.
Oh, for
guy.
sure. Oh, this is the fun part.
Well,
Because
listen, we're in it to win it, Jim, right? This business is about making money. It's not about.
What about art? I keep hearing about artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Is it real?
No.
No.
I really am not a fan of a chat bot. I'm not a fan of a bot but again, if you're investing in the wrong advertising sources and you have sources that will not engage, will not share information, will not communicate with you, if you have these consumers because you're buying older leads or they're super high funnel and they're not ready, that type of technology might be necessary in order to save your team's resources to focus on the lower hanging fruit. But in general, I'm not a fan.
Steve, now I know you've got some AI built into your system to defend it.
Oh, well, no, hey, look, it's not for everybody, but I will tell you in this day and age, and I mean, I'll just agree to disagree with John.
DriveCentric, folks.
I think every store can leverage artificial intelligence, but it may not be for everybody given the store. The one thing I will tell you in this day and age, I think, is the opportunity for the dealership to really staff their dealership appropriately and be proactive coming out of, getting all these cars. The studies that we've done, and I would hope this would hit home with everybody, is if I could give Lindsay or her staff more leads, if the consultants go out there and NADA, the NCMs of the world say that a BDC, let's just talk about a cradle to appointment, BDC, for example, if they can handle, like, let's say 100, 150 leads, or I'm sorry, 125, 150 leads effectively, think about if we could stretch that to 250 to 300 using artificial intelligence. I mean, the data out there that we're seeing, the average customer is buying the car 70% of the time in 4 days.
What does artificial intelligence do, Steve?
It's getting engagement. It's going to beat the typically human being.
Okay, engagement. I mean, I'm talking about dumb it down a little bit for me. Okay.
Tease it up.
What is artificial intelligence? Is it a robot talking to the people? What?
No, I call it weird science, like you're feeding a brain. It's our AI, and there's a lot of different ways of defining AI, but ours is a deep learning neural network that is more conversational with the client, with the customer. And so our AI can talk to the customer as far as talk about their leads, talk about a retail, talk about a trade, talk about the credit, and go as far as schedule an appointment. So it's not your typical decision tree artificial intelligence that is, it's out there, but artificial intelligence, the way we go out there to describe it, is to be an asset to the BDC or an internet salesperson to help get the engagement so the BDC becomes a better responder. And to Max's point, you can go out there, close your eyes and sell a car today. Well, instead of going out there doing 100 phone calls and 50 emails a day, if we could get a 70% engagement rate, which our stores get is a 70% engagement, now where people are responding to customers versus.
Did you say 7 or 70?
70. And that's just a fact. And so I think for anybody coming out of this, to staff their store appropriately, to be more profitable is really what the bottom line is that dealers got to really think about. There's no way I would get a robo sweeper and sweep my floors. If I can get technology to get engagement, well, isn't that true, Max? I wouldn't want to sweep the floors again. I don't want to do double the work. And if the customer is texting me.
See, and I'm that person. I don't think the robot does a good job on the vacuum or in a lot of what we call AI technology.
Vacuum scares my dog.
First, it doesn't do a good job. Maybe I'm just one of these weirdos that actually wants, that deep clean baseboard type break out the hose.
Let me ask Lindsay a second. Let me ask Lindsay. Lindsay, do you have AI in your system? Lindsay, do you have AI?
Yeah, we have a few programs. I like to think of it as kind of a backup to our BDC. They're doing things kind of behind the scene. We use Conversica at a few stores. We use 4eyes at a few stores. And I think the engagement's pretty good. But again, it's for kind of those higher funnel leads or those long-term customers. We're not letting them take over hot leads or any, data mining even really, or anything, that we can't do ourselves, I guess.
Okay, data mining.
I think it's important. Everybody listen to what she just said, though, right? They're not letting it go on the fresh opportunities. If you can get that, do it. And again, Steve, I'm sure that your technology is not the type that we're talking about as far as non-quality type engagement. It sounds
tell me some more about Jennifer. Tell me some more about why you think Steve's full of crap.
Well, no, I think that AI, just like attribution was one of the buzzwords a couple of years ago. AI is a buzzword right now. And
everybody has some kind of AI.
Yeah. And is it actually an artificial intelligence? Is it intelligence like with 4eyes that Lindsay had mentioned? That actually gives you intelligence as the person, right? The consumer's been to the site this many times, looked at this many pages. They've been shopping for 2 weeks.
They sound like people. I get calls from a little guy in India that wants to talk to me about my car's warranty, and I start cussing his ass.
If I could get anyone
I start cussing his ass out, and he's not a real person.
Well, I think, and a lot of the issues I have, I was actually doing a demo on, it was a CRM company. I don't know if they ever came to fruition or not, but we were talking about that AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And they're like, well, why do you need to build your own custom follow-up processes? Our AI will queue up the most important. And I was like, but how does it learn which ones are the most important in the beginning? Well, we're going to have to collect about this much, 60 days to 6 months worth of data to actually be able to serve those up efficiently. I said, so I'm just supposed to hope this all works for 60 days to 6 months. And I'm not saying that it doesn't, but if you're utilizing it across the board and just trusting without dividing, like Lindsay said, making sure you're having the right conversations with the right people. If it is a third-party lead your OEM forces you to buy, let that sucker run, right? But if it is a low funnel conversion from your website, I don't know, I'm crazy. I think we hire people for their personalities and their customer service skills. So if I have a team of people who have been trained in communicating what my company has to offer to our customers, why am I going to step away from that and go into something that's more robotic and set it and forget it? I've hired these people for a reason, and I should use those skills.
Well, and I think, Jennifer, just to let you know, if the AI is going out there, AI is usually doing, whether it's Conversica, DriveCentric, or other AIs that are communicating. The whole idea is, just like Lindsay and, everybody knows, you're being asked to do a lot of things. You're doing more with less is what every dealership is doing. And everybody gets busy. and that it is a safety net. It's a fallback. But the AI is going to engage via text, via email. So if we know that those are two forms of communication, why would we do the brain damage? Let the AI do a text, send an email. Let's have our BDC call, and let's send a video. You know what I mean? That's what we got to do. Is you don't want to do double the work. If people that fight the AI, they're over communicating, typically with email. If we're going to be honest, we're going to send, the AI is going to send out an email. Then Lindsay's going to send another email, and you're badgering the customer by one form of communication. So part of the technology you have to understand if you're going to implement it is, how do I divvy up my work? And and I would, if Lindsay's using Conversica, then I would tell her, say, well, focus your people on the phone and let's do a video. I mean, you could send a video and then incorporate the AI in your conversation, whatever you name her. I mean, that's what you have to do. The AI is a partner.
Whatever you remember. I love that. When I talked to all your customers here a couple months ago, they all had names. One of them was Britney Spears. It was all different names. But Ashley Cavazos is on the sidebar here. She said, and she's a big advocate of AI. I've talked to her. She said it's your safety net. She's a real fan of AI. And let me ask, how many people here are doing data mining, and how many people here are using the BDC to acquire inventory? Tell me about that, Lindsay.
We use Automotive Mastermind at all our stores, so it's part of our
morning program.
Yeah, it's been great. We switched probably a year or so ago, and we've been really happy with it. So we have, our BDCs, part of their morning process is, once they've gone through leads and whatnot, they're calling any service appointments out of Mastermind that are here for the day. And they're talking to them, engaging them about their vehicle. If we can give them a number, we have somebody then walk over into service and greet that customer. So we've got.
How do you know they're in service?
It'll send you all the service appointments for the day. I mean, a lot of times your CRM can see it too, but we use Mastermind because obviously.
Yeah, Masterminds will create an alert so that they can see it.
Yeah, so we have, like, certain managers will get an email every time we have a service customer here in the store. But so we're using Automotive Mastermind a lot. We do a lot of, I shouldn't say we do a lot of, but some stores use KBB ICO that we actually are running through our BDCs, as we found that was more successful as handing it over to the salespeople, because that's what they kind of suggested in the beginning. But so yeah, we're doing a lot of vehicle acquisition as well.
So can I share a really effective tip for KBB ICO?
Sure.
Especially since you have it with your BDC. Now that is one where if there was an engagement after, that initial 48, 72 hours, I would let AI run with it. Mm-hmm. But if you are scheduling that customer in, or even in all of those conversations, we would bring those customers through the service lane to do their validation of their vehicle value, right? Your KBB ICO trainer, it's not a trade. It's not a trade appraisal. It's a vehicle valuation report, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you bring that customer through the lane to finalize that, and whoever you have coming, whether it's a dedicated person that's purchasing those or any sales rep in an up rotation, then they can come back and meet that customer, finish that walk around for the validation, and then get them numbers. You will find you're able to purchase significantly more units.
What did you call that? What did you call that unit, Jennifer? You called it a what?
Oh, that wasn't me. That's Auto Trader. That's back from their Tim days. A vehicle value validation.
When I used to sell demos, we used to say this is an executive evaluation car. We only call out one of 20 cars and let our executives drive them to be sure they're absolutely perfect. We generally sell these for more.
But a part of the friction I think that consumers have with that trade number, right? That number one point of dissatisfaction. And right now it's different because those numbers are a lot higher. But it is because, that the whole battle in the front of the house. You bring it through the lane.
That's a great idea, actually.
It's huge.
It takes them out of that mindset that they're going into the dealer, they're going to have to battle all of that. It just kind of removes that.
And if you have a
love it.
dedicated agent to do it, sit them in service, right?
Yep.
Some of my most successful acquisition stores, those folks who are working the opportunity, whether it's through like Subaru Connect or just directly through the CRM or something like Automotive Mastermind, they are much more effective when they're in that department. And I've got one store that buys about anywhere between 30 and 45 cars a month out of the service lane.
30 or 40?
Yes.
That's huge. And today,
Yeah.
in today's market,
30 to
that's
40?
crazy.
Well, I'd like it to be more.
Hey, I
But
do
we
have
don't have any more hours to sell to push any more units through.
Steve, what have you done to acquire inventory?
Well, no, I just got a question for everybody because I mean, we just, we're selling CRM, so we're always sharing tools. But one of the things that we kind of talk about as far as doing trade appraisals, and I just want to ask Jennifer, Lindsay, Max, and even yourself, what would be your thought of the BDC scheduling? Like if somebody's selling, doing a Kelley Blue Book, doing a virtual meeting, like a Zoom meeting or FaceTime, things like that. What is your thought as far as doing like a trade appraisal from their home, doing it live streaming? I'd just be curious.
I mean, there's certain things you wouldn't be able to see, but there are some new technologies out there that actually do utilize some video and photo and some. Jim, I think I mentioned this to you. This one was a really cool Canadian technology that it can even sense the difference in paint colors to be able to tell if there was body work. But without a technology like that, it's really hard without laying hands on a car. And I'm coming from
every customer has FaceTime.
Everybody has FaceTime.
I was using FaceTime 10 years ago. Let the customer FaceTime to me their car.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, we were doing offsite. I would send my buyer to people's houses all the time just to do that. But we had a regional Cadillac dealership. So your level of service and your stick had to be a little bit different. I think that 100% it's awesome. But me as the dealer principal or the used car director, do I want to like stroke a check based off of that? No, I still.
No, I guess let me rephrase what I'm kind of leveraging it as. So we're going out there, we have a tool inside Drive where you can do like live streaming with customers. And so one of the things I'm looking at is like, think of it as like a soft pull, right? Soft pull of a credit, but you're doing a soft appraisal, but the whole goal is to be in front of the customer. That's what your goal is. Not so much to appraise the car, but to sell you and the dealership so you can come in. So it's kind of like, I'm thinking of it like a soft appraisal.
I guess if a customer was giving a lot of pushback on coming in and getting the actual evaluation, it would be a good alternative. But yeah, you really want them to be in the store with their vehicle so you can have an actual accurate appraisal.
Steve, I think my initial reaction, wow, it's pretty cool, to do this soft appraisal, but then, I go back, and I think of Jiffy Lube. Dealers have all these creative processes to make an appointment for an oil change, or you can just go and get an oil change, without calling anybody at Jiffy Lube, without emailing anybody. And if the customer is real and serious about selling his car or her car, whether they like it or not, at some point, they got to get their ass to the dealership with the car to pick up the check.
Totally.
So the soft appraisal becomes an extra friction almost.
Yeah,
it becomes an incentive not to come in.
Well, it's just one extra step as
Right.
well. I love virtual appointments, though. I love the concept of a virtual appointment. But as far as adding value for the customer, it's not going to help me give them any better of a trade number than their VIN number and the mileage at a couple of picks. And that's just, from an actual what's the number I'm going to put on it. But of course, if a customer's too far away, that's a great option. But again, I got to remember the name of that technology, that Canadian company. It was pretty cool, but that I think, because that would give you more information via the video and the captures that it has to put a better number. The whole idea is to shorten the amount of time for the customer and your team, right? It's to shorten the amount of time. If you think about these internet consumers or outbound, whatever it is, time erodes gross. all around. And so if I can shorten the amount of time, then awesome. I'm going to save them time because it's more valuable. I'd rather offer, let me swing by your office at lunch. I'll bring you a little something, and then I can touch the car and give you an actual value. And then I'm going to create a big fuss and make sure all that their coworkers are seeing me do that. So maybe I can actually get 2 or 3 appraisals while I'm not.
I just look at it as like it's an additional pathway to get the customer. You're offering a customer experience. It's their experience. But I'm just kind of thinking, if I could get you in front of the customer faster in that digital showroom that, Jennifer, like we're talking about, right? It's the digital showroom. So you're extending the physical showroom, but it's just that entry. I'm thinking about the customer experience, so they'll eventually come to the store. And maybe that's just,
what I'm missing in BDCs right now is the live Zoom type experience where we can get that customer while they're still on the website, 0 moment of truth. They just made a decision, and all of a sudden, would you like to chat with me? And the chat becomes a Zoom type video where I am actually communicating with the consumer in real time, and preferably if I'm selling finance. Finance is nobody's watching those videos on finance. These people are lying to you. So I'm telling you that right now that, they're going to watch a video and buy a service contract. No, they're not.
They're watching another video. Why not? Why shouldn't they buy a service contract?
I mean, so anyway, but if I can get that customer now, Steve, you've got something like that built in, or do you?
Say that one more time.
You have something like a Zoom application built into DriveCentric?
Yeah, live streaming. Yeah, we just call it live rooms. But again, you can do it. There's more steps to it, but there are other technologies out there. I mean, but yeah, when it's built in the CRM, everybody will use it. But we're trying to go out there, and we launched it obviously in the heart of COVID, and especially with people with blizzards happening right now, it's a good way to either we talk trade appraisal, or maybe Lindsay, maybe you get a credit app, right? A credit app comes in, it's all jacked up. Schedule an interview with that customer, potentially. I think the goal, when you have the tools available, you're just kind of trying to get in front of the customer. It's never going to change. People
Steve, 20 years ago, Karen Merriman, does anybody know Karen here? Okay, Karen Merriman came to my offices when I was still running my companies. It's been more than 20 years ago. It's been 30 years ago. And I was already on the internet, and they actually had an application of live chat that the person in the BDC could actually take them and guide them through the website.
Yeah, with a screen share.
With the screen share, and actually take them through the website. They had that 30 years ago, and I don't see anybody using anything quite as sophisticated as that today.
Yeah, no, we have a Zoom integration through Auto iPacket in a number of the stores. But in that, for instance, it still takes having a coach.
You got it. Are your people using it?
At my Highline stores, they use it a lot. Yes, actually.
Are your people using live video?
Occasionally, but not as much as they probably should. But I would say our Highline store too, they use it a lot more.
If I
those
could
customers
project my personality
the customers are used to it, right, Lindsay? On the Highline customers,
yeah.
it seems, but
if I can project my personality like we are doing right now, this is much more effective than sending them a video that is talking at them but not with them.
Sure.
And I use Zoom all the time to sell my services, and I see people use a lot of Zoom to sell their services. Steve, you do.
Well, here's the thing: is if you don't offer it, you don't know. You don't ask, you don't get. And you know what? At the end of the day, I mean, I just think about the way I conduct business in all the different industries is, if there's an opportunity, like I will never go over pricing blindly. We always do it through a meeting, a Zoom meeting, a live meeting, so that you can connect up, you can share information, things of that nature. Just obviously doing demos. There's so much you can do with live streaming. And instead of doing, and again, this is because look, I think I'm BDC when I started up this company, because I was making all these calls, sending a bunch of emails, and I just care about one thing and one thing only. What was my contact rate? at the end of the day, I want to do the right activity that gets me engagement. And at the end of the day, if hey, do you have 10 minutes for a screen share? What's a good time? And I'll do that through email. I'll do that through.
You can do a screen share with somebody. You're absolutely right. Now, Jennifer, I want you to notice Guy Manassi just came in on the side. He's coming from LinkedIn.
Oh,
This is the
nice.
first time somebody from LinkedIn is
Yeah, I see a couple of them there in the
Yeah.
sidebar as well. So that's awesome.
Hello, Guy.
Hey, Guy.
He's got a compliment for.
I appreciate it, Guy.
I'll tell you, this is one heck of a great broadcast. So, how about Lindsay? What have we not discussed?
New car inventory shortage.
Oh, I don't even want to go.
But that's okay. I think that's good. We all know.
We all know.
I just feel like everybody's talking about that.
But I think that's a struggle for a lot of agents, right? Because a lot of stores, the salespeople are getting a percentage of gross, so the unit counts don't affect their pay. But a lot of BD agents out there, it is the volume that really does make a difference, whether it's a volume of appointments that show or sold or however that might be. So making sure that your team's morale is up, because whether it's through video or phone, if they're in the dumps, they're going to have a hard time getting your customers gassed up about coming in.
So actually, today at my Honda store, we were reviewing, last month, and we noticed our closing percentage on our internet leads went down a lot. So we're digging in, and I'm like, probably 75% of our internet leads were for new cars that we don't have. And we have good used car inventory, so it's not that we don't have any used car either. So I'm like, okay, we've got to, so all day we've kind of adjusting and just digging in further and like, okay, what can we do here?
So for a morale standpoint, one thing I think that you can do with your agents is start tracking sold pendings, right? If you're able to do a custom order, because that way at least they could see what their total close rate would be if you have the cars. And that at least can really kind of get them over that hurdle.
Well, most BDC agents work for minimum wage and free pizza, right?
No, not my reps.
I was gonna say not in the Chicago market. Where
my reps are making good money.
Yeah,
they work hard for it, but they can make some good money with us. Yeah.
Jim, there's
Lindsay. Do you have any openings at Lindsay? You have
every store. I need BDC reps like crazy. Heck yes.
You pay great money at Ziegler Auto Group.
Great money, great working environment.
Let's go, yeah.
Wisconsin to Chicago.
Jim, I think there's one thing that we didn't discuss, and that's, regardless what CRM you use, or regardless what kind of a BDC setup you have, there's total absence of BDC and F&I. And I live in the F&I world, and I can tell you with 100% certainty, no dealer out there is doing F&I unsold follow-up, except for Jennifer.
On service contracts.
I know Rick Reichert is. I know I could give you a list of very successful.
You can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
Right? Out of 18,000 rooftops, 5 guys are doing it. Right. So it's not just service contracts. There are other F&I products that you can sell. There's paint and fabric, there's tire and wheel, but the fact of the matter is when the customer says no in F&I, that customer is completely forgotten in 99% of the dealerships. And nobody, not BDC, not the finance manager, has ever thought of actually picking up the phone 2 weeks later when the customer already took possession of the car. The guard is down.
You're wrong, Max. You're wrong. When I was with Dyer & Dyer Volvo, and we were the first $1 million F&I store in the world, we would call every customer that didn't buy a service contract every month toward the end of the month and make our month. I mean, and we would sell service contracts. I mean, this was before BDC.
Yeah.
Guys, we've run out of time. We've run out of time. I am so sorry. Look at this.
Big topic.
This could go for 2 hours. We've got a great audience. The replays are going to pick it. I want to thank Lindsay for stopping in. Steve, the LiveWithDrive Guy. Everybody wave goodbye to the audience. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.